Welcome back to Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and one thing we just heard in the previous segment was State Representative Dan Ugasti making this statement about Illinois' business climate.
Overtaxation, overregulation, high costs from litigation. It's all out there.
So again, high costs from litigation, overtaxation, and just a burden on businesses. And that's what a lot of, at least the minority party in the state of Illinois see happening. But a group that's been watching this for a long time, highlighting the impacts it has on the economy, highlighting the impact it has on population in the state of Illinois, is the Illinois Policy Institute. And joining us to talk more about that and also some things that are coming up for taxpayers, beginning with the new fiscal year that starts July 1st in Illinois, Dylan Sharkey joins us. Dylan, thanks for taking time with us this morning. Give us, I guess, your rundown here of all of the things that Illinois taxpayers are going to be having to face come July 1st.
Sure. Well, Greg, July 1st is New Year's Day in Illinois in terms of the budget, and our New Year's resolution every year is always a slew of new taxes. And this year, Illinoisans can expect $1.1 billion in new taxes for the upcoming budget. Governor J.B. Pritzker originally asked for around $900 million in new taxes, and state lawmakers said, well, we'll raise you $200 million like it was a game of poker, except the only difference is both sides are playing with taxpayer dollars, not their own.
So here we are with the budget that passed, the state's largest budget, $53 billion in excess. When you work in the federal tax dollars that are coming to Illinois, it's $125 billion. And I think that's really the number people should think about as to how much your tax dollars cost to run Illinois. But talk about, I guess, the comparison of Illinois to not just the rest of the country, because we can look at California, for instance, all the way over on the West Coast, but what about Illinois in the Midwest? What's the gas tax comparison to the likes of Missouri or Kentucky or Indiana or some of the other corporate environment taxes? How does Illinois compare to all of those other states?
Oh, we rank number one, and not in the number one the way you'd want to be ranked. For example, you mentioned us trailing California in many ways, and the gas tax is just an example of that. We have the second highest state gas tax in the nation, behind only California. When you add up what people pay in gas taxes at the federal, state, and local levels, Illinoisans pay the second most in gas taxes in the nation to only California, obviously the highest in the Midwest by far.
Dylan Sharkey with us with the Illinois Policy Institute, talking about July 1st and a slew of new taxes coming into effect. We've talked about the doubling of the gas tax back in 2019 and the addition of some kind of increase tied to inflation. What are Illinoisans, or at least motorists, filling up in Illinois? Because a lot of people have to pass through Illinois, including trucking companies. I'm sure some of them probably try to tally getting from the west side to the east side of Illinois, trying to not fill up. But what on average are people going to have to pay more on top of what they're paying now after July 1st?
Well, even a 2-cent increase, which is what we are seeing on July 1st, is going to go up to 47 cents from 45.3. And for the average person, that could cost you an extra around $180 a year, but that depends on how much gas you use in a year. And specifically for this upcoming holiday weekend for Independence Day, people should really be mindful of how much they have left in the tank and how far can they get with their gas before they need to refill up. If you can get to another side of the Illinois border in any direction, really, with the same tank before you fill up again in Illinois, I would do so, because that could save you some extra holiday cash.
Dylan, there's a lot of opposition to the idea of freezing the state's gas tax, even when it was done for the 2022 fiscal year. I believe that the engineering companies were opposed to that. They may see this, close to $3 billion of increased motor fuel tax as a big win. But is that money needed? And how is that money, is it going to be used efficiently in the state of Illinois when it comes to the cost of employment for prevailing wage and things along those lines. So how do you balance that, right, with the economic activity that engineering groups say, hey, this money's going to create, it's going to better the streets and the roads and the bridges and everything, with the economic impact it has on taxpayers filling up at the pump?
Right. Well, you mentioned it earlier. The total budget is around 53 billion. I believe it's about 15 billion higher than Governor Jay Pritzker's first budget. So the state is spending, that's not a disputable issue. And it'd be one thing if we had just the second highest cash taxes in the country, but we also have the second highest corporate income tax rate and the second highest property tax rate. So it's one thing just to be at the top of one ranking, but Illinois being consistently in the top for all of them goes to show you that people are losing out in multiple ways.
Dylan Sharkey with the Illinois Policy Institute joining us live here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and Dylan, we talked a lot about the gas tax. That's just because everybody fills up at the pump. Not everybody does sports betting, though. That's another tax that's going up July 1st. Talk about that and who that really impacts, because the governor says this is not impacting those who place bets in sports books.
Right. So sports betting, the tax hike is a huge component of this new budget. It is 200 million of the 1.1 billion in new taxes. And Governor Jay Pritzker said that it won't affect people directly, and it won't. What it does is it raises the amount that sports books have to pay up of their winnings. And now these major companies, DraftKings and FanDuel, they have come out and said that as a result of this new tax hike, it is currently a 15% flat rate. It will change to a progressive rate from anywhere from 20% to 40%, depending on how much a company brings in. And one of the consequences of that is they say their users on their apps are going to see fewer promos and bonuses that they would normally benefit from right now. You may see them all the time in commercials. It could be a promotion to sign up and you get $100 in free bets, or bet 5, chance to win this. They argue they're going to see less of that in Illinois. And also, you might see people just bet not as much. And not this to say that it will go down, but that the revenue could be below what lawmakers are expecting. For instance, in fiscal year 2022, the state brought in about 142 million in revenue. But then in fiscal year 2023, it went up by just 1 million. So 142 to 143. So the growth has kind of cooled off. It's still a massive amount of money, don't get me wrong, but as far as change per year, it has kind of dwindled down. So I don't know what they're expecting to see as far as growth in the future.
Dylan Sharkey with the Illinois Policy Institute with us. July 1st, various new taxes kicking in, some part of the budget, some part of a plan from 5+ years ago. But obviously, this is going to be directing some of the taxation coming from one particular industry, and that's the gaming industry. We talked about sports betting, but also talk about the issue of video gaming terminals getting an additional tax on them, and what that means for places like Springfield that have a lot of video gaming terminals versus places like Chicago that have 0, but multitudes more population.
Right. So when we think of video gaming, people think of slot machines and casinos, but this is largely outside of casinos. This is at local bars and restaurants. So it's not like people are committing on going to a casino, taking the trip to do it. This is a place that's probably very close to your home that you frequent regularly. And so the temptation is definitely there. And we've seen that. In 2023 alone, Illinoisans lost a little more than $2.5 billion to video gaming machines. And the state's aware of that and saying, well, we can maybe bring in a little bit more. So there is a 1% increase hitting on July 1st on video gaming taxes. And compared to sports betting, it's much more of a moneymaker. Sports betting is around, few hundred million, but video gaming is 2 to 3 times more. It's closer to the billions, honestly, in revenue.
Dylan, there's also the hotel tax that's going to impact certain bookings online for hotel rooms. But there was also the cap on retailers' discounts. Retailers pushed back against that. You've got the interchange fee issue that I'm sure we'll hear more about that as well when it comes to possibly having to swipe twice for goods, and then no interchange fee on the taxes or on tips. But that's another interesting component of the budget that's coming up, and let alone a whole host of other spending priorities that the supermajority of the Illinois State House and the governor have laid out and enacted for July 1st. Greatly appreciate you taking the time with us here with Illinois in Focus and giving us a bit of a rundown of what's going on with this July 1st new tax scheme that's going to be impacting some sectors in the state of Illinois. Appreciate you.
Of course, Greg. Thank you.
All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and join us each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus and the Center Square on America's Talking Network.